Hello and welcome to Lights Camera Community Action, a podcast brought to you by the New York State Community Action Association, or NYSCA for short. My name is Heidi Barcombe, Program and Communications Director for NYSCA. NYSCA is the State Association for New York's Community Action Agencies, commonly known as CAAs. NYSCA's mission is to strengthen the capacity of the Community Action Network to address the causes and conditions of poverty. NYSCA was created in 1987 to provide CAAs in New York with professional development opportunities, training, and technical assistance. NYSCA is the hub that brings together community action agencies in New York to network, share successes and challenges, and strategize to meet the needs of vulnerable New Yorkers. A community action agency, or CAA, is a local organization with the mission of reducing poverty through locally designed and delivered programs and services targeted to the specific needs of their community. The 47 CAAs in New York form a statewide service delivery system that connects individuals and families to the services they need to achieve economic status. When it comes to moving folks from poverty to self-sufficiency, community action agencies know what works. Today, we're talking with two of New York's CAAs about food insecurity, the needs it creates in their communities, and the innovative programs and solutions they employ to address these needs. Let's meet today's guests.
Hi, my name is Lisa Gardner-Goodrow. I work at JCEO of Clinton and Franklin counties. I've been with JCEO for approximately 10 years within different departments. I started in the med transportation field of JCEO, and I have worked my way up to the Community Outreach Program Director.
Nice. My name is Chris Ehlers, and I work at Cayuga, Seneca, and I've been here for the past 8 years as a food security director. And within that, my roles have changed a little bit, but I also have been with community action organizations since 2007. So my first round with community action as a food security director was in Cattaraugus County, and now I'm in Cayuga and Seneca counties.
Lisa and Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your expertise related to food insecurities. Before we start, Lisa, can you just tell me, excuse my not knowing this, but can you tell me what JCEO stands for?
Yeah, it's Joint Council for Economic Opportunity of Clinton and Franklin counties.
Clinton and Franklin counties. So that is the northern part of New York State, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and Chris, you are in Cayuga, Seneca, which is what area of the state?
Cayuga is in central New York, and Seneca is in the Finger Lakes region. So I cover both counties, and they're next to each other, but deal with different regions.
Thank you. And we're going to talk today about food insecurities. And I'm wondering if before we dive into that conversation, if the two of you can just sort of explain what we mean by food insecurities and tell us in your own words how you would describe it.
I guess for me, food insecurity would be the inability to be able to provide consistent nutrition for your family financially. It means that sometimes you have to choose between paying your bills or providing food for your family. And I think that's not a choice that many of us should have to make. Unfortunately, we're dealing with that though. And I feel like that's increasingly becoming an issue.
Yes, food insecurity is, for me anyway, is having access to nutritious foods, having the availability. A lot of these people that we serve are in crisis, and they're, the poverty, and there's also a lot of health issues with that as well. So food insecure sort of grasps all those, and mostly the access to nutritious food for me.
I agree. I think sometimes that also means like being able to access the grocery stores, because we
Mhm.
live in very rural communities where transportation is an issue, and you're having to shop at these little mom and pop stores that are probably double what you would pay if you were being able to go to the actual grocery store and buy your food. So I think it kind of
Right,
falls into that too.
exactly. And with those mom and pops, and sometimes they're just more of a convenience store, and you're lacking the nutritional value as well. So that that goes on to another scope of issues as well.
Absolutely.
I think that's an interesting point, because we often think of food insecurity as financial reason for it, but it sounds like you're talking about what we would frequently call as a food desert. Is that?
A lot of times, yes. There's so many places I know up in, your area, Lisa, there's not a lot of grocery stores. And when I say grocery stores, I mean like having access to quality foods that are nutritious, as well as a choice. There's SNAP benefits and those kind of things that can help with people that are on that are receiving SNAP benefits. But you know, not all foods that are being provided within any mom and pop shops or convenience stores are the best choices for these people.
Unfortunately, sometimes the most affordable option is the most unhealthy option, which is pretty sad.
And I'm wondering, when you are looking at your communities, who are the people that are facing food insecurities the most?
Well, there's a range. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
No, I think you're right. There is a range. I think there's a lot of seniors that are having issues as well. They're on very fixed, limited incomes, and they have the same issue that a lot of the other families face with transportation and getting to the grocery stores, mobility issues. And then you also look at your SNAP households, who you're trying to, get them to stretch their dollars. But I think another portion that often gets overlooked is our more of our like Alice families, our working families that don't receive SNAP, and they are putting all of their paychecks into their bills, and there's not much left over for food.
I agree. There's that range from the seniors to the working class, right down to the people that are unable to access, that are on more of the benefits, the TANFs, or we also have a group of people that they're on a fixed income, the people that are disabled, people that can't get out of their homes, the homebound. And those are the people that tend to get forgotten, or we can't reach them, and they don't have that capacity to find an outlet. So
I want to back up for just a minute, because Lisa, you mentioned something that is so important, but not everybody knows. Can you explain to us what ALICE is?
ALICE is asset limited income constrained, and that is basically our more of our middle class population that generally has two working people in the household, but they're still struggling to make ends meet. They don't have a lot of money in their savings account, so something comes up, there's a car that breaks, they are having to put money towards that, and it really puts a really hardship on them. So that's more of the families that are ALICE.
Thanks for explaining that. So when you look at these populations and you look at what the needs are in your specific community, can you talk to us about what you're currently offering in your programs and in your agencies to address food insecurity?
JCEO operates 13, well, 14 if you include our Franklin County site, food pantries throughout both counties. The majority of them being in Clinton County, unfortunately. We have 13 food pantries, 12 of which are in outreach centers, some of the towns throughout the county. And then we have our main food pantry here at our JCEO Margaret Street location. That's kind of our hub that supplies all of the other 13 food pantries within the county. We do Feeding America out of here. And we serve roughly, I would say, sometimes 40 to 50 people a day, 40 to 50 families a day in just this one location. Our outreach centers are a little bit less depending on the location where they are, but they're probably within 5 to 12 families per day in those as well. So we do all the ordering here for all of them and the distribution. And the Feeding America food, we have we call it free food. The breads, the sweets, and the produce especially, which is the most important thing to get out to everyone, goes out to them once a week, and people from the community are able to come in and get those foods. We don't ask for any documentation or anything for them. We just let them access that food.
40 to 50 families a day is a significant number.
It has grown substantially in the last, I would say, 6 months, and it continues to keep growing in both of our counties. It just seems like I want to say we were at 828 households or individuals last month, sorry. Last month we had about 828 households that we served here in our main office.
What do you contribute that growth to?
I think the economy, and the fact that a lot of families have become used to some of the COVID extras that were there. I mean, they were getting the pandemic SNAP benefits. The schools were offering programs to help families with feeding their children and stuff during the summer and even during the school year. And now those programs are ended, and they just kind of, I think families don't really know what to do at that point because they've budgeted for so long with a certain amount, and now they're back down to what they were getting pre-pandemic. And I also think everything's just really expensive. If you go into a grocery store now, you're walking out with maybe a quarter of what you used to get for the price that you paid before. So it's and budgeting and knowing how to budget is an issue. And again, I mean, you're going into the store and you're going to go for what you can get the most out of. Unfortunately, for most of our families, that's, the pre-packed meals or the stuff that is got all the preservatives and boxed stuff. So it's sad that that kind of food is cheaper than the healthy stuff that we all should be eating.
Chris, can you talk to us a little bit about your food pantry structure in Cayuga, Seneca?
Yes, so we have several different programs here at CAP, and we have 2 food pantries, one in each county that services all of each county. And then we provide a mobile food pantry as well. We started that about 8 years ago, and we were targeting more of the people that were homebound in more rural areas so that we could identify and assist with people so they can stay at home as well. They might not be able to get out of their home, but they can still cook for themselves. And this is a way for them to continue to live in their own home without, moving into an assisted living or, that kind of a facility. So those 2, the mobile is also done within the 2 counties, and we cover all the whole areas. We also have procured a food recovery program, which entitles, the resources that we get from our food recovery helps the 30 emergency food providers within the 2 counties. So how that works is that we have a food security coordinator. He reaches out to grocery stores, farmers, restaurants, wholesale organizations, and we recover food that would be thrown away. So then we pick up. Food safety is also required for this grant. So the food security coordinator and myself are both ServSafe certified, so we can transport foods safely and store them safely. we sort the foods when we get them back to the warehouse, and then we call up the emergency food providers to see what they need from our menu that we have. So with that being said, we for the past 5 years, we've recovered, well, one of the years anyway, the largest amount was 198,000 pounds of food. So we work with, Wegmans, we work with Tops, we work with Walmart. We have an organic farm in Wayne County that has a growing season for us. He's actually set aside 22 acres so that we can get fresh produce. We work with local farmers. We also procured some nutritious or Nourish New York funding through our food recovery program. So that provides us some funds so we can purchase and help out the local farmers. And, with milk, eggs, fresh produce, and cheese. We've done cheese as well. So yeah, it's a wonderful program. It makes sense. It helps the landfills, and it also helps a lot of the people that are in need, and it's nutritious food.
So those are some really innovative programs. I'm glad that you explained what food recovery was, because I had never heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also really curious about your partnership with the local farmer. Can you talk a little bit about how that came about and what that looks like in terms of who it helps and the structure of the program?
Yes. So several years ago, we were running our food recovery program, and a farmer in Wayne County, Rose, New York, had a lot of broccoli, and he couldn't get rid of it all. So he reached out to some people, and they were like, "Oh, you should call CAP. They have a food recovery program." And so we connected, and we went up and we got a lot of broccoli. So through that, we distributed it. And one thing about fresh produce and these fresh products that are coming in, it's a quick turnover rate. So we need to get these products into people's hands quickly. We are fortunate that a lot of our emergency food providers have different schedules, so that there's always a food pantry or a soup kitchen or shelter that is in need during each week. CAP, for instance, we're open every day, so we're good. We have that accessibility to food that is not moving or anything along that line. So we connected, got the broccoli, and that was probably a good 6 years ago. And about 3 years ago, we connected again. We had, we received, let's see, it was before the pandemic and the Nourish New York funding, but we had connected, and he decided that he wanted to set aside this land. He liked what our mission was. He liked what we were doing, and he also really loved that we were getting good, nutritious food out to people that weren't getting it. We're not purchasing it. They couldn't purchase it. He believes that everyone should have access to nutritious food, and he's an organic farmer. He has blueberries. He does kale. He does a range of all different things. So when we first started, he was starting to donate. We were doing the pounds, recording the pounds coming in. Kale is a little hard to get rid of, but we're trying to be a little bit more imaginative, creating recipes and getting that information out to all of our food providers that we're saying, okay, I'll try it. We'll see how it goes. I also partnered up with Cornell Cooperative Extension. They do cooking classes. So she was going to these the emergency food providers and demonstrating on how to, cook kale and some other vegetables that may not be familiar. It wasn't a carrot or a cucumber, So, and it was going well. Then the pandemic came along and our Nourish New York money came into play. So I offered it to him and he started growing a lot more. So we had zucchini, summer squash, beans, beets, Swiss chard, winter squashes, blueberries, apples, grapes. He had an orchard. He also has a chestnut grove that he works with Cornell Cooperative or Cornell University with. So he had. And he's a garlic, he's the beginning of the Garlic Foundation as well. So he has a lot of garlic to also spread the word. And, we hand out garlic a lot. So
this is a long-term partnership that has benefited your agencies and your agency and your communities in a lot of ways, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's wonderful. Lisa, I'm wondering if you can talk with me a little bit or with us a little bit about how you are accessing and providing some of the healthy food and the food to your food pantries.
So I'm very avidly looking on the Regional Food Bank website for anything that is healthy, and we order that and provide that to them. But we also have a greenhouse, 2 of them in our Franklin County Outreach Center. And we've recently partnered with Cornell Cooperative Extension to procure a horticulturist.
Nice.
And they have started growing in there. We've just started seeing the benefits of it. We got started a little bit late this year. There was a lot of work to be done. But we anticipate that we're going to have some really good produce coming out of the greenhouses. So we use that to supply our food pantry up in Malone, and we also have our mobile markets that we operate in Malone, right in the city part of Malone. Well, I call it the city. Malone's not really much of a city, but and those operate weekly with, I believe we're on 4 different stops this year. Last year we had more stops. And we went a little further out of the Malone area. However, staffing's kind of been an issue this year, and so is funding, the main issue being staffing. But we work on getting into the low-income housing this year with the mobile market. That way we're kind of bringing the produce to them. We accept SNAP in the mobile market, so that gives them options to pay for the produce with that. Feeding America, which is the partnership that we have with Regional Food Bank, we get produce from Sam's Club, Walmart, Target, and Price Chopper or Market 32. They provide us with quite an abundance of produce. We've been very fortunate to get that and be able to get that out into the community. And again, that's part of our program where we don't ask for any information. We just we get it out to our outreach centers once a week in each outreach center. People can come and access those items. And I mean, I think we have papayas downstairs, pineapples, mangoes, and as Christina said, sometimes it is a struggle to get people to want to take certain items. So we try to come up with different ways to, either hand out a recipe or post something so that people can see what they can do with the items. Try to get staff familiar with the items too, because some of the staff don't even know what some of the fruits and vegetables are that come in. So we just kind of work with them to get them, excited about at least trying it. It's been pretty successful so far.
So you both have some pretty creative and innovative programs, it sounds like, and I'm wondering if you can talk to me about how you identified that these innovative programs would benefit your communities and how you created them.
Well, the greenhouses were a little bit before my time, but I believe that whoever came up with the idea was thinking that it would be nice to have that produce available to ourselves at a lower cost. It definitely was a learning curve because if you don't know much about growing fruits and vegetables, sometimes you can get yourself into a little bit of a sticky situation. But we've worked really hard at getting them where they need to be. And I think that just looking at the communities as a whole and knowing that especially in Malone, there's I think Walmart and Price Chopper, and those are right in the heart of Malone. If you get into the rest of Franklin County, you really don't have a lot of options for getting fresh fruit, other than some of the local farm stands. So I think that was probably part of the motivation of getting the greenhouses up and running.
Who actually works in the greenhouses?
So we have a couple of our Franklin County staff that help out, but right now it is her name's Laura, and I can't remember her last name, but she is a horticulturist that Cornell hired, and we subcontract with them to have her provide all of her expertise. And so far it's been very beneficial because what we have growing in there is, I think, really gonna come along nicely.
Are either of you doing any projects that support people with growing their own produce?
We aren't currently. We do the prison in Malone. I think it's in Malone. We provide them with seeds every year. And then they keep a portion and they give us the rest of their yield. But I think one year we did do like senior outreach did these little buckets, like a community garden bucket, and all the they distributed them out to a lot of the seniors in the area, and those went over really nicely. But I think that that would be something that we would love to look into the future, because I think a lot of people just don't have the knowledge or even the means to purchase, the items to start one. And once you do, they actually yield quite a bit of stuff.
Yes, so CAP has partnered with a local, excuse me, a local center. It's called Booker T. Washington. And when I first started, we partnered with Montezuma Refuge, and there was a woman also doing her doctorate. It was her project. So they reached out to me. We all partnered together and we created a butterfly vegetable garden for that center. And what we did, we got lots of people that were living in that area as volunteers. And we worked together to build a garden in the shape of a butterfly. And then it was also a vegetable garden. So we had a lot of donations through Lowe's and Home Depot, those kind of things, manpower from the volunteers, and we created this. So the partnerships and it's still in going today. They utilize it as a garden, as a pollinating garden, as well as a vegetable garden. They use the produce for their after school project or programs. We also worked with our local BOCES. They have a summer garden where they do employ some of the students during the summer, and volunteers come in as well to help plant and maintain the garden, and then they distribute to all the local food pantries within the Auburn area. And we'd go up and pick up stuff. If there was anything left over, they would reach out to us, and then we would distribute it through our food recovery program. So yeah, we also work with a local college for our seed bank, and we're we get seeds and then we provide seeds to the emergency food pantries, and then they hand them out to their families as well. And those buckets, the buckets are great. You can do so much with those. Tomatoes, you can put cucumbers in them, squash, anything. And those are really nice for people that are living in apartments that have, their little back area, little porches, and they can have some fresh stuff right there for them. So those are some of the community things that we do. We also promote a campaign. It's called excuse me, Grow an Extra Row. So every March, April, May, we put out a big flyer just to promote Grow an Extra Row to all the families that are growing gardens, and then to then in turn go ahead and donate that to their local food pantries. So yeah, Grow an Extra Row is a good project.
That's a wonderful idea, because it's not that complicated if you're already growing a garden to throw an extra row in. So I really like that idea, and it's a catchy title.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can talk to me about what impact your programs, your food-related programs, have had on your community, and if you've had any feedback from people that you can share with us.
I think most of the feedback we get are from the families that come in. Very thankful and grateful that we have the services to assist them. A lot of them want to, they're just thanking everyone down there. And most of our programs are volunteer based. We do have two full-time staff here in Clinton County, and our outreach centers are staffed, but the main bulk of what's done here is a lot of volunteers. So the community really supports that. As far as the impact, I don't know that we have data that supports it, but I can only imagine what it would be like if we didn't provide this service, given the amount of people that are accessing it.
What more do you think is needed in your communities?
We definitely need more food. I think, especially as we move forward into this year, I think things are probably going to get even more tight, and services are going to be accessed even more than they are now. So I believe that definitely food is going to be a huge thing as we continue to go on, and funding for that is very limited. We rely very heavily on community donations and what we get from Feeding America. Obviously, we get stuff from Regional Food Bank too, but the bulk of it is community donations and our Feeding America program.
Chris, what more do you think is needed in your community?
Well, food is definitely probably the top, but I also think that we need to do a better job to reach the people that are not being reached, whether that be senior sites, whether that be, homebound individuals that are out in the rural areas that are either a little too proud to admit that they need help. That outreach is necessary. I've worked as a NO-OP coordinator, which is a nutrition outreach education program through Hunger Solutions, for a year and a half at Cattaraugus Community Action. And I know the outreach that I did was meaningful in the sense that people didn't realize that these programs even existed, even, back in 2007, So I think the educational piece is very important. And if we could find some more staff, some more money for staff, those kind of things, that would be helpful to be able to have just an outreach team to get out there and identify more of the people that we are missing, because I know we are missing them. The senior population, seniors have a very deep, they're right in my heart all the time. And I really wish that there was more for them, because I think they are forgotten, and doing more for them right now like you were saying, Lisa, the economy, food is a basic need, and there's a lack of it. There's a lack because of how expensive it is. Transportation issues right across the board. I mean, all of New York State has transportation issues in those rural areas, and people want to be at home. They'll be at home as long as they possibly can be before they have to go and get more assistance. So those are my thoughts.
I agree. I think with seniors too, there's also the stigma. They don't like to ask for help. I think it's kind of a generational thing.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of times our numbers when it comes to senior citizens are really down. We don't see as many as I know there probably are that are in need, which is sad because that is one of our most vulnerable populations. So,
Mhm.
And I'm going to ask, in the past few years, our society, our communities have changed so much, right? We're still shifting, I think, and trying to figure out, it feels like the new normal is different every 6 months to a year. So I'm wondering if your programs have had significant shifts in how they work or how you have had to manage them in the past few years.
I know for us, COVID presented its own challenges, but we really came together and worked out some ideas that worked. We were providing delivery to anyone who was quarantined and needed food.
Mhm.
We also were operating by appointment only because we were letting limited people in the building. And with that appointment only, unfortunately, our numbers went down, I think, significantly because most of the population we serve are more in the moment if they're in need. They're not planning it out. And then you're playing phone tag too with getting people in. So we've went back to walk-ins and our numbers have grown, I think, just exponentially. It's been a little overwhelming, honestly, just how many people who are accessing services. But I think that everyone worked really well to provide what was needed for the community. But now that we're back to normal, our numbers are definitely much better.
We have over the past through the pandemic, obviously have changed many different ways on how we run our business in the food pantry. So we did a lot of the mobiles. We opened it up to basically anyone. Our numbers went up. We were doing over 500 deliveries within a 2-week, 3-week period of time. Through that, we have learned that, like Lisa was saying, a lot of the people that we serve are in the moment. They don't think too much ahead and they don't plan. Not all of them, but quite a few of them. So we started looking at a menu online, almost like a Instacart kind of thing for our food pantry. So we are implementing that right now. It's called Link to Feed, and a lot of people can put in their requests for a menu and their order, and it gets sent to us, and we then in turn pack the box and they can come and pick it up. That definitely helps with the phone calls. We still get them and we still spend a lot of time on it, but it's going to change, but there's also an issue with that too. Not all of our customers are the people that we serve utilize a computer or have a phone that can be able to do something like that. So we're trying to make it more accessible for people to place their food pantry order. But I'll get back to you and see and let you know how that turns out.
Please do let us know.
Yes.
No, I just wanted to add one of the other things that we did before the pandemic, we had like a menu-based system where we had, I think it was like 14 or 15 different dinner options, and we had breakfast and lunch and they got to choose, and we just packed for them. It was more of a time issue with the amount of people that we were serving, but we find that we wanted to change that back to being a choice pantry and letting people come in and make it more of a shopping experience. So we really did a complete overhaul of our pantry, and we now have what looks like a little mini grocery store as our pantry, and people go through and they are allowed to pick what they want, and then we have our produce and all of our other stuff. But I think it's changed the atmosphere of our food pantry. I think it seems less like a food pantry and more like a dignified shopping experience.
There you go.
So I think that was one of the things that we did after the pandemic that I think we're most proud of. It's a much better setup.
Nice. Do either of you have success stories, either from participants or your community in general, that you'd like to share with us?
I guess I don't really have anything like specific. I feel like what we did with changing our whole program and working on the greenhouses isn't a single success story, but it is going to help the community and provide a much better service experience for everyone.
So my success story has a lot to do with more of collaboration and using our emergency food providers and bringing them together. So when I first started, they were meeting monthly for a food providers network meeting. And it seemed like, it was the same kind of routine. They would come and they would say, yep, our numbers are increasing, da, 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 da. So I asked them what they wanted from these meetings. And we started bringing more of the community resources within Cayuga County into our meetings so that they could promote what they offer, and then thereby the coordinators could then in turn go back to their programs and sort of advertise the resources available. So as we have started growing together and utilizing and helping each other as a network, we are now having people share food, and that is wonderful because each food pantry program within each county, they're trying to find more resources for their programs. They need more food as well. So everyone, all the volunteers have, within each program, bring their own story, bring their own information. They might know someone that works here or there, and then in turn gets these donations. So as our food recovery program has grown over the past 5 years, and we just got awarded for the next 5 years, so that's a great thing.
That is a great thing.
So the collaboration amongst the food network, the food providers, it's so great to see them working together and helping each other out. And if they have extra, then they call Kirk, our food recovery coordinator with the food recovery program, to distribute it to other places. But I think that is one great thing. And I'm sure Lisa would agree on the aspect that, no one program can do everything on their own, and you so need the community as a whole to contribute and work together to fight this food insecure issues that we all have across New York State.
And that really speaks to community action, the whole collaboration and inclusivity. It's just a wonderful example of that. Lisa, you were going to say something, though?
I agree. We definitely partner with a lot of agencies throughout both counties, and we share resources. We share an abundance of Feeding America food if the soup kitchens, if we get like larger donations of things for the soup kitchens, we reach out to each other if there's something that we might need to see if the other person may be able to share. So I think that sense of community and just partnering is very prevalent in our counties, and it sounds like it is in Christina's too.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we could all do it alone without the support of all the other agencies.
Right. And another thing too, and I'm going to have to plug them only because they are probably both of our greatest supporters, is the CNY Food Bank. Food Bank of Central New York does a wonderful job in supporting the counties that they go and distribute food to. For me, for Seneca County, Food Link, if we didn't have these food banks across the region, there would be major issues. So I just wanted to make sure people know that those supports are greatly appreciated and needed.
I think that is an excellent point to make, that, again, nobody does this alone. So I appreciate that. You've both mentioned some excellent programs and innovative programs that you have in your communities. And I'm sure that there are people listening who are thinking, I want to learn more about that, or, oh my gosh, I need that help and I didn't know it was available. So can you please tell us where people can find you online if they'd like more information, if they need help, or to get involved?
My email address is lgoodrow@jceo.org. And you can go to our jceo.org website and find me as well. And it also has a listing of a lot of the services that JCEO provides, including statistics on what we've done in previous years.
Lisa, can you give us that email address one more time, a little more slowly?
Yep, it's jceo.org, and my email address is lgoodrow@jceo.org.
Thank you. And Chris, where can we get in touch with you if people have questions or need some help?
Yes. My email address is C Ehlers, which is EHLERS at CAPHelps, CAPHELPS.org.
Thank you so much, both of you. Lisa and Chris, we really appreciate you joining us for Lights, Camera, Community Action. We appreciate you sharing your time, your information, and all of these great ideas about innovative programs to address food insecurity in communities. And thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate that. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.